Little Gift Shop of Horrors is the 6th episode of Gravity Falls' second season and 26th overall. In it, Stan tells us different stories. Shenanigans ensue. For some reason, this episode aired on Disney Channel, even though the rest of the season first aired on Disney XD. The original title of the episode was Tales Designed to Sell My Merchandise. But the new title is a reference to the kind of forgotten Roger Corman movie, The Little Shop of Horrors, which was later adapted into a musical and remade into the iconic Little Shop of Horror musical starring Rick Moranis. It's also where the piranha plant originates from. The episode is actually from first-person perspective, as Stan tells us our tales. In the commentary of the episode, Alex Hirsch reveals the idea of an anthology story taking place in a gift shop is sort of like Friday the 13th, the series. Despite coming out around the same time as Friday the 13th, the movie series, the TV series has nothing to do with it. Stan has a Palantir from Lord of the Rings with just straight up the Eye of Sauron in it. For those who don't know, a Palantir is basically a magical crystal ball from Lord of the Rings. Anyways, our first story is Hands Off. During a swap meet, Stan steals a thing from a witch who curses him by stealing his hands. Shenanigans ensue. We see some stores like Cheap Tires and Baby Parts by Lazy Susan. Irregular heads, half price. Who's Its and What's Its with Old Man McGucket. And Tyler selling wind chimes as Several Chimes, which is a reference to Several Times, the boy band from Boy Crazy. The hand witch is reading Crone Alone magazine, Witches Be Trippin', which is a reference to Bitches Be Trippin'. It's apparently $40. At the bowling alley, we do see one of the agents. If you notice, the hand witch's feet are actually more hands. The hand witch's outfit is the inverted colors of the master from the infamous movie Manos, the Hands of Fate. Their throne made out of hands is sort of a reference to Game of Thrones' Iron Throne, which was made by a bunch of swords. The idea of this segment came around when Alex really wanted the group to fight a bunch of disembodied hands, and one of the animators drew the hand witch in a hand throne, as well as the hand witch in a cart being pulled by a giant hand, but we don't see the hand cart. Matt Chaplin, who we remember as the voice of Romano and the creator of Homestar Runner, voices the hand witch. In the commentary for the episode, it was revealed that he very almost played Stan, but Alex Hirsch was concerned that he sounded a little too much like Strong Bad. Here's the comparison.
Dear Strong Bad, do you take your wrestling mask and boxing gloves off before you go to bed? Sincerely, Abdi LaRue, San Diego, California.
Kids, I can't find my pants! You're what I could have been. There but for the grace of God goes I.
As well, in the commentary, it was revealed originally there was going to be a segment where Wendy, being a rebellious teen, gets a tattoo that was evil and consumed her. But it was cut, because something that's going to become a reoccurring trope is Alex just did not want to break Wendy's character of being the cool one, so she gets really sidelined. Wallace finds a summer wing pail from the episode Summer Wing, but this one's a little low textured, which leads into the next segment, Awakenings. Dipper discovers a mushroom in the journal that'll make you super smart. Unfortunately, Waddles eats it and becomes a super genius. Shenanigans ensue. The episode title's clearly a pun on awakening and bacon. It was originally an idea they had in season 1, and back then Waddles was going to be played by John Hamm. But then for this segment, originally he was going to be played by Jad Abraham, but eventually he was played by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And a lot of the jokes in the episode was basically try to get this super genius to say some silly lines. Waddles and Mabel have a AM radio. For those who don't know, AM radio is a thing that old people and truckers use to communicate to each other via shortwave radio.
Shortwave frequencies are perhaps best known for being the place where eccentric weirdos like the late Marlon Brando would broadcast their amateur or ham radio stations. In the old days, ham radio was sort of the Twitch of its time, a place where you could tune in and hear randos yammering on about anything.
Waddles becomes so smart, he creates a thing, but Mabel convinces him to stop taking the mushrooms via flashbacks, one of which actually being a clip from a different episode, The Time Traveler's Pig. Our final story is Clay Day. Mabel has an irrational fear of claymation, so the gang tries to take her to a guy who does claymation to show it's not that bad. just to turn out that the claymation is evil. Shenanigans ensue. Mabel's watching a thing that's clearly inspired by Care Bears. I mean, the little girl here is clearly the little girl from Care Bears, the first movie. Just look at the hair, or even look at the backgrounds, they're exactly the same. And I like the detail that Believe in Yourself episode 618 is written in Sharpie. You can clearly see the holes on the animation cell. On the VHS tapes is yet another Rick Moranis reference. Honey, I Shrunk the Ghost is a reference to Rick Moranis' roles in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Ghostbusters. The claymation guy they're going to visit is Harry Claymore, a reference to Ray Harryhausen, the master of claymation. The clay skeletons of the episode is a clear nod at him, because Harryhausen famously animated the skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts. Mabel hides from the claymation in her laundry basket. We can see several of her sweaters from past episodes, like the star one from Boy Crazy, the music note one from The Inconveniencing, the sprinkle one from Zeus and the Real Girl, the sleeve of what I think is her shooting star sweater, and her golfing sweater from the Gulf War, but it's now yellow and orange rather than cyan and green. I guess this is her fall golfing sweater. Harry Claymore brought the claymation to life, but they went mad when computer animation took their job, referencing how, yeah, this is exactly how Hollywood done it, where claymation used to be the standard for stuff until computer animation now is the new standard. And as a movie nerd, I have to talk about how CGI is the worst and claymation's way better because it's actually real and yada 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 yada. This newspaper is by Toby Determined, which makes me question how old he is. The CGI person here with a cookie is apparently animated by Matt Chaplin. It's meant to look like bad early CGI like the Dire Straits' Money for Nothing music video. At the end of the segment, Zeus becomes Gumby. For those who don't know, Gumby is one of the most recognizable and famous claymation characters. And apparently originally Stan was going to shoot him with a shotgun. But then Stan gives us a thing and drugs us and makes us a new display. Alright. Mabel outfit check, and hands off she's wearing a pale red sweater with a yellow crystal heart on it. In the awakening, she wears a lavender sweater with a little guitar and some notes on it. The guitar has a heart on it. She gets a little trucker hat. And she sleeps in the sweater. She does not wear her big sleep shirt. Sweater from Time Traveler's Pig, that doesn't count because it's a clip from a past episode. But she does wear her shooting star. And in Clay Day, she wears a pastel green sweater with a chocolate bar on it. Our key is not canon. Our secret code is, check out Dr. Wild's latest book, A Brief History of Oink 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 Oink. Our page is, all animation is black magic, which is accurate. And as for the non-canon part, that means this is the only episode of Gravity Falls that is completely non-canon, because at least the events of them falling into the bottomless pit and coming out is canon, it happened, and not the segments in the episode. I guess that makes sense why Dipper and Mabel doesn't care that Stan drugged someone and is now imprisoning them as a new display. The mushrooms in the journal do not appear in any of the official journals, but then it gets kind of weird because the Hand Witch does appear in the journals. And breaking my rules of not referencing the future, spoilers, but we do see the Hand Witch in Lost Fables. As for the episode itself, it's okay. Just like Bottomless Pit is an anthology episode. But the Hand Witch story is just kind of alright, and the Awakening is just kind of alright. I really like the claymation part. I love seeing claymation. If the animation style wasn't so expensive, I would have loved to see an entire episode just focused on it. And it's done super well because it's done by Stupid Buddy Studio, who also does Robot Chicken. Overall, I'll give this episode a 5.5. It's not one of my favorites.
Why dudes have nipples?
That's because nipples develop on people before gender does. So if you really want to think about it, everyone who identifies as male is transgender.